Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I am here today with my Rubbermaid totes. Wanted to take a peek into them. We had spotted some potworms last week, and I had pretty much decided to stop feeding these bins and try to get them to finish composting so that I can harvest some of this. And it's looking pretty good. There's not a whole lot of worms over on this side that I'm seeing just yet. But the compost is starting to look really good. All of those white specks are from the ground eggshells and a little bit of the oyster shells that I use to supplement for some of the calcium and grit. Someone mentioned to me that, you know, you don't have to buy anything for your worms, which is absolutely true. But I do buy the oyster shell for my garden anyway. So in theory, I don't like to add anything that I have to buy. That's kind of defeats the purpose of composting. But on occasion, I will use some of the oyster shell. So this is starting to look really, really nice. Oh, here we go. Looks like we have some food waste over here. Trying to see what this was. Not quite sure. But I see some avocado shells, and this is where I've been noticing most of my potworms. So I'm wondering if there's something about the oyster shell that attracts them. So let's see if there's any in here. Oh yeah, I mean, not a ton, but you can see them right there on the pit. And they're not very large. There's not a whole lot of them. So not too concerned about that. I will let that keep going. And again, it's got a lot of bedding left to compost, but all in all, I think it's going well. It's not overly moist. I don't think it needs more water. I actually like the consistency right now because it's not too compacted. I think it'll be pretty easy to harvest once the time comes. But the worms that I am seeing in here, they all look healthy. They're nice and big. So I'm pleased with that. So we'll take a peek in another bin or two, and that'll be my update for today. So I'm going to throw the lid on here, and we'll look at another bin. Okay guys, so here's another one of my Rubbermaid totes. This bin actually feels pretty warm to me. I did feed this one. It's not as full as my other ones. The other three I'm just letting go, but this one I did feed last week with some blended scraps that I had. So, trying to see where the food is because this middle section feels really warm, like it's composting. So, not too warm, but I mean definitely warmer than room temperature. Not really seeing much as far as food. So I wonder if they've broken a lot of it down, that I'm not really seeing whole pieces of food. Let's look over here. Oh, here we go. Let's see if we have potworms. A few down there on the bottom. It looks like there's a few there on the side. But again, they're small. Not too big of a deal. The longer I do this, the more I'm coming to accept that you're just going to have some additional decomposers hanging out, and that's okay. Okay, sorry guys, my camera cut off, but there wasn't a whole lot more in that bin, so here's my third bin. And I don't think there's any fresh food in here. I really need to label my bins so I know which ones have food and which ones don't and where I fed. Thinking about maybe just using like a popsicle stick to mark where I fed. But again, there's lots of bedding that needs to be worked through, but it's getting so full that I really don't think I want to add any more food at this point. I'm just going to let it kind of go. Make sure I keep the moisture level okay, and hopefully within a few weeks this will all be fully composted. I do think there's a avocado shell. My hand hit, oh, here we go. Down here in the corner. So let's knock this out. I see one potworm on the side of my finger, but, or maybe two, but I'm not really seeing any inside the shell itself. So what I'd been saying was that since I started this, I really started to kind of accept some of these decomposing critters that hang out in the bin, and I'm not worrying about them nearly as much. They're always going to be there to some degree, and as long as they're not competing with your worms for food, it's really not an issue. It's not like they want to leave the bin and go into your house. There's really nothing attractive to them about that. So we'll take a look at one more bin, and that'll be my update for today. Okay, so here we are with my last Rubbermaid. Again, you can see they really like to climb the walls a little bit. It's that condensation that builds up, kind of allows them to explore. But again, this one's actually a little bit more wet, I would say, than the other bins. But it's still not so compacted that it's like mud or it's going to be hard to harvest. I will make a video probably in the next few weeks on how I harvest and kind of show you what my method is. Look at that. That one's probably ready to lay a cocoon pretty soon. So we'll look at the other side here. Yeah, this is really a very nice consistency. And I feel like the worms tend to like it the wetter it is. As long as there's not standing water, I tend to find the most worms kind of down in these corners where it's damp. Looks like I have a sprout of some sort here. I'll just leave that in there, it'll decompose. Alright, but that's going to be my update for this week on my Rubbermaids. And I will be posting another video later this week or next week, depending how things are going. So I hope you guys have an excellent night, and I will post and see you guys soon.